The core of an exchange economy is defined as the set of allocations such that if we ended up at one of those allocations, there is no way for some coalition within the economy to take their endowment, go somewhere else, and all do better. We'll illustrate here where such core allocations lie in the two-person, two-good exchange economy. We again begin with the two initial indifference curves, one for me and one for my wife, that pass through our initial endowment and thus represent the lowest possible utility level that either one of us would accept for any allocation where we would have the choice of taking our endowment and going elsewhere. The endowment allocation lies at one of the two intersection points of the indifference curves, the one that contains 3 oranges and 6 bananas for me, and 10 oranges and 4 bananas for my wife. The shaded region between these two indifference curves represents those allocations that both my wife and I prefer to the original endowment allocation. Any core allocation must lie within that shaded region, because if it didn't, then one of us would be made worse off in the allocation that's proposed by whoever is proposing it. And if that was done, then the person who's made worse off could simply take his or her endowment, leave the economy, and do better than she would under the proposed allocation. It must also be true that any core allocation must be an efficient allocation, because if it wasn't, there would be a way for both of us to become better off by trading. Since the two of us are one possible coalition that could leave the economy, we would therefore be able to do better on our own than under the proposed allocation. We therefore draw out the contract curve of efficient allocations, because we know the core allocation must lie on that contract curve. In the previous two segments, we have therefore concluded that the core allocation must lie in the shaded region between the two indifference curves that pass through the endowment allocation, and the core allocation must also lie on the contract curve. The only points in the Edgeworth box that satisfy both those conditions are the green highlighted points, the portion of the contract curve that intersects with the shaded green region. In the two-person, two-good exchange economy, the core allocations are therefore represented by the portion of the contract curve that is bounded by the indifference curves that pass through the initial endowment allocation. In the appendix of the chapter, we investigate how the concept of a core allocation gets more complicated as there are more than two individuals in the economy. Remember that a core allocation is formally defined as an allocation such that there exists no coalition within the economy that can do better on its own if it leaves the economy with its endowment. When there are two individuals in the economy, there are only two such possible coalitions: the two individuals, or each individual on his or her own. But if there are more individuals, then we have to consider more possible coalitions that could potentially leave the economy and do better. This then complicates the concept of a core allocation beyond what we've done here for just two individuals.